Am I allowed to block your ears? I'll just do this one. Anne, who is my mum, will say, "What a load of bollocks." You'll see. Pen, right? Pen will just say, "Flipping hell," and laugh. Mick will shrug his shoulders and look at Mac, and they'll both laugh. Dave will just sit there smiling and shaking his head. And Mum, right, you'll be smoking a senior service and laughing all the way through it. There'll be mayhem. You watch. All Arthur's tropical fish will start eating each other. When it finishes, right, there'll be a silence, and then Arthur will say, "Flipping wrap up," like he does. And he'll be so stunned that he won't leave it at that. Oh no, there'll be a stunned pause, and then he'll say, "Well, sod me brightly." You watch, it'll be worth the wait. Well worth the wait, I tell you. I think Betty's going to wet herself laughing. "Do you like it, Betty?" "No, it's rubbish. I'd rather be boiled in vinegar." And she laughs. "Does Mac like it?" And Mac is Lee's dad, who's in his 50s. And, Lee laughs. "Does Mac like it?" He laughs again. Does Mac like it? Good question, Bucko. Good question. I told you he's turned into an adult. He can no longer give me a straight answer to a perfectly normal question. Eventually he says, "No. I think we can safely say that Mac doesn't like it. I mean, it's not exactly Fred Astaire. It's not Glenn Miller or Xavier Cugat. No, I don't think Mac likes the Sex Pistols," and laughs once more. "So we can't hear it yet?" "No, not yet, Bucko, not yet." "What's it like?" "What's it like? Oh, well, now you're asking. What's it like? I'll tell you, it's marvellous. It's marvellous. Marvellous, I tell you. You hear me? It's beef, that's what it is. It's beef. You do know I've gone mad, don't you? Turned into a Gumby. You've never heard anything like it. It starts with guitars and drums. It's an excellent beginning. You'll hear it, all right, old boy. And then when the singing starts, is that Johnny Rotten? Johnny Rotten? Oh yes. That Johnny is very rotten, old boy. Oh yes. It's honestly like nothing else you've ever heard. It's like, how can I describe it? It's like right, there's a car crash up ahead on a dirt road by the side of a corn plantation, and you're driving a big truck, one of those ones you see in America in the films, you know, one with the air horns and a huge exhaust pipe on the side of the cab. You're driving it, heading straight for the carnage, so you put your foot on the brake and nothing happens. You keep pumping the brake and there's nothing responding, and you know you're heading straight for the tangled mess of wreckage. That's how it sounds. You with me? I nodded, perplexed. So, Lee's building the suspense. We go to Chatham Football Ground, which is Wembley, and play football, a friendly against Yugoslavia. That's another thing you'll have to ask your parents, younger listeners. You've probably guessed already that Dad and Mac are Yugoslavia. We're England. We beat them 13-10. We get back home and everyone gathers for tea at Nan and Grandad's. Nan and Betty have it all sorted out. There's another food list coming up here. There are sandwiches, tomatoes, spring onions, ham, beetroot, cucumber, celery, cheddar cheese, Dutch cheese, dairy, tangerine flan, green jelly, red jelly, meringue nests, chocolate, marshmallows and coconut snowballs. If I tell you they're the only 2 stories with big lists of food in, you'll have to believe me. Nan has also brought Co-op Jubilade. Kes likes it, but I still prefer Cresta. Then Lee does it. The big moment is imminent. Lee stands by the hi-fi. Hey, right, hey. Doll, Anne, are you listening? Betty knows what is coming, so do I. This is it. This is the moment. Everyone stops chewing. Lee's got it in his right hand, the blue record sleeve with the picture of the Queen on it. Lee makes an announcement. You know that punk rock that's been all the fuss about? You know, Sex Pistols, Johnny Rotten, eh? Been in all the newspapers, Nationwide, Panorama. That God Save the Queen, the one that BBC had banned. He hasn't bought it, has he? That's Mum. She is obviously in the dark. Everyone else seemed to know that Lee had bought it. Yes, I told everyone last week, Nan answers. Well, you never told me. Mum doesn't remember. Right, you ready? You ready for this? You listening? He laughs as he says the next bit. You'd better block your ears. Lee takes the black plastic from the sleeve and places it on the turntable. He flicks the on-off switch on the Ferguson from left to right. The switch springs... Pardon me. The switch springs back to the play position. The arm lifts from its cradle and swings from south to southwest. It hovers momentarily above the plastic, exactly 3.5 inches from the centre, and curtsies down to ride on the shiny black disc. This is it. The record begins, the guitars and drums, and then Johnny Rotten begins screaming at people munching their salad. My life changes. It sounds like the charge of the Light Brigade. It sounds like World War I. It sounds like Krakatoa, all at the same time. It sounds wonderful. Grandad says, bloody hellfire. Nan says, what's he singing? I don't know if she says that because she's a bit mutton, Jeff, or because she can't understand the words. Mum pulls her face and declares, what a load of bollocks. Penny says, flipping hell, and laughs. Dad shrugs his shoulders and looks at Mac. They both start laughing. Dave sits on a dining chair, crouched, with his elbows on his thighs, a plate in his hand and a cup of tea in his right. Oh, a plate in his left hand and a cup of tea in his right. He's smiling and shaking his head. Betty is smoking a senior service and giggling uncontrollably. I glance at Grandad's fish in the tank. The fish are swimming around like they normally do. The record finishes. There is silence for a second or two as everyone tries to take in what they have just heard. Betty is trying hard not to burst into giggles. In fact, she's laughing so much that she's not making a sound. Silent giggling. Her whole body is shaking and tears are beginning to roll down her cheeks. And then Grandad says one of his favourite sayings, which he does with an exasperated tone. He says, fucking wrap up. Betty is still giggling. Lee looks around the room at stunned faces, and I want to hear it again and again and again. Grandad, however, is still stunned. It's time for him to unleash his absolute #1 favourite phrase. He says, well, sod me brightly. And that is his last word on the Sex Pistols. This sets Penny off laughing, and even Lee is beginning to shake. Surely you didn't buy it, Mum says. Buy it? Lee replies. Oh yes. How much did you pay for that? Mum wants to know. 64p. Why? Flipping 64p? You need your head examined. Nan's verdict on her nephew. He's got more money than bloody sense. This was Lee's theatre, just as he'd planned it. This is exactly the indignant outrage that he was hoping to conjure. This was why I couldn't hear the record at 1:05. I'd been kept waiting for more than 5 hours, and he was right. It was worth it. I begged Lee to play it again. I've just got to hear it again. I want this more than I wanted the Sure Shot hockey game the Christmas before last. The grown-ups don't want to hear it ever again for as long as they live. They want to hear Brian Ferry or Barry White or the 3 Degrees, but not the Sex Pistols. Can you tape it for me, Lee? You didn't like it, did you, Bud? Dad asks. You could tell it was Dad. He's the only one who calls me Bud. Yeah, it was great. What about Elvis? I thought you liked Elvis. Yeah, but I like this too. You'll end up as mad as him. And he nods towards where Lee is standing. Lee is pointing at Jack and Kez, singing, no fuchsias, no fuchsias, no fuchsias for you. And it goes on a bit more, but we'll call a halt there. Thank you. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll carry on now with buying nice drinks at the bar. And if anyone wants a copy of the book, they're £10 from here. And if anyone wants a raffle ticket who hasn't got one, they're £1. All raffle prizes connected with the book. And perhaps we'll draw the raffle in 5 minutes. Okay, thank you.